As the body of the late Emperor Claudius entered his mausoleum for the first and final time, the door was shut tight, ending a period of normalcy following the reign of Rome's most chaotic emperor to date, Caligula. Those 13 years of calm were sealed shut at the rise of the new heir to the throne, Nero. Being Claudius's adopted stepson, Nero was tutored by the Stoic philosopher Seneca to continue the long tradition of classical education expected of a Roman emperor. Seneca himself would provide one of the few surviving contemporary accounts of his pupil's reign. It should be noted that keeping and protecting factual literature is a very modern practice. It is unknown how many other contradictory accounts originally existed, how much surviving records were edited, or how honest any of them were at all. We must proceed forward in history with what we have, and for Nero, what we have doesn't paint a pretty picture. Nero's mother, the widow Empress Agrippina, ran many matters of state in the early days of his rule. As Nero took on scandalous affairs and openly conflicted with his mother, her role diminished, and she was murdered by her son under hotly debated circumstances. His own kid brother Britannicus also died suspiciously. This coincided with his marriage to his own stepsister Claudia. After many years without offspring, Nero divorced her for another Roman noblewoman, Poppaea. After beating her to death, he ordered the death of another Roman noble and took his wife. Meanwhile, he found a Greek slave named Sporus, or full of seed, castrated him and forced him to dress like a woman and become his polygamous bride. Later, Nero dressed up as a woman to ask a freedman as another spouse. Though Nero fancied himself as a patron and participant of the arts, he nearly bankrupted the entire empire with frivolous spending habits and a lack of sense in finances. On the state's dime, he organized an entire legion of soldiers to applaud him at every performance. As he experienced his first shave at 22, a masculine Roman rite of passage, he threw an entire festival to celebrate it and forced Roman aristocrats to perform humiliating scenes. It should be reiterated to take a grain of salt to all these accounts, but it would be foolish to ignore how consistent Nero's contemporaries speak about his gross incompetence and sociopathy. Though these stories reek throughout Rome with his incompetence and cruelty, one event remains mired in mystery. This possible crime ruts deep in controversy, and many permanently do so in the quagmire of time. The crime history most associates him with may not be so clear-cut. Even in light of that, his evil remains. The city of Rome was the epicenter of Western civilization for nearly 5 centuries, and remained its spiritual nucleus for another millennium. It was the largest city in the world, and what was then the largest empire in the world. Its politics and culture ruled the city, thereby ruling from England to Egypt, from Azerbaijan to Arabia, from Judea to Germany. It sported numerous schools, coliseums, freshwater aqueducts feeding into fountains, and even its own professional fire brigade. On the night of July 18, 64 AD, a merchant's block near the Circus Maximus caught fire. The nocturnal Italian summer breezes fed the blaze, which rapidly ran up the Palatine and Salian hills through the urban layout. Survivors bled into the Italian countryside. Some report gangs of looters purposely setting fires and claiming they were under orders to. The fire itself changed meteorological conditions that night, summoning winds to feed itself for days on end. Once it was all over, much of the greatest city on earth laid in ruins. The most professional fire department to exist looked powerless and inept. 10 out of the then 14 districts in Rome were mostly ash. The 6-day fire brought the city to the brink of famine, unemployment, and homelessness. A million denizens stood hungry and angry. This is where history begins to fray against controversy. Popular belief is that Nero ordered the fire set and that he played a stringed instrument, possibly a fiddle, as Rome burned. Tacitus, not known for any sympathy toward Nero, places the emperor in Antium, a full 39 miles away. Other narratives claim Nero was performing in Rome during the fire musically in a tower or on stage. Almost immediately, as expected, reconstruction commenced. Nero arranged for temporary housing in public areas and food in the imperial budget. He commissioned the reconstruction on strict Greek-inspired architecture, a personal passion. His own personal residence was rebuilt from the ashes, alongside the Temple of Saturn and the Vestal Virgin's home. Though progress was made, the people of Rome looked to vent their anger. Nero chose a perfect scapegoat. Though much is debated in the exact details of the early Christian churches, Tacitus, a very stern critic of this new religion, does identify them as being a hated religion sect in the city at the time. Simultaneously, he's one of the earliest non-Christian accounts of the existence of the early Christian churches, and he does not hold back.
a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus, and a most mischievous superstition, again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center and become popular.
Though he refers to the entire religion as a superstition, and scholarly debate rages as to what particular sect of Christianity or version of Christ he was referring to, if he actually saw a difference at all, it established three key historic facts. 1. Christianity existed as a minor, imported religious group in the city of Rome as early as 64 AD. 2. They were an extremely unpopular group among average Romans. 3. They were so small going into the 2nd century that a brief explanation was warranted. In the playbook of tyrants, this made them the perfect scapegoat, a rallying point to hide one's iniquities as a leader, and subsequently gave them summary trials and public executions to the enjoyment of Rome, creating those known today as the early church martyrs. Tacitus, who seems to hold hatred for all involved, is considered trustworthy for Nero's persecution of the early Roman church.
Mockery of every sort was added to their deaths, covered with the skins of beasts. They were torn by dogs and perished, or were nailed to crosses, or were doomed to the flames and burnt, to serve as a nightly illumination when daylight had expired. Nero offered his gardens for the spectacle, and was exhibiting a show in the circus, while he mingled with the people in the dress of a charioteer or stood aloft on a car. Hence, even for criminals who deserved extreme and exemplary punishment, there arose a feeling of compassion, for it was not, as it seemed, for the public good, but to glut one man's cruelty that they were being destroyed.
Suetonius, another scholar of the time, confirms this purge. Previously, Romans viewed Christianity merely as innocuous local cults sharing similar concepts of Christ from backwater Judea. Nero is credited with making it a form of treason. For another 2 centuries, Christianity would be violently suppressed, joining a host of other movements in direct opposition to the empire. St. Paul of Tarsus would be beheaded for his faith shortly after the fire. St. Peter would join him, being crucified upside down on what is now known today as Vatican Hill. Though this calmed the crowd for a while, Nero's reign did not last very long. Within a year, a major conspiracy by dissident aristocrats was revealed. Seneca would be accused and forced to die. Judea, a province racked by discontent, erupted into all-out rebellion lasting long after Nero's lifetime. Governors in the west declared open rebellion against him and almost started a full civil war. Servius Galba, governor of Spain, rose to prominence even as a fugitive. Praetorian Guard pledged their allegiance to him and abandoned the emperor. Ultimately, Nero's reign came to an end in 68 AD when he was forced to flee Rome and later asked a slave to kill him. Galba became emperor, thus ending the Julio-Claudian dynasty. Nero's legacy from the fire and his crimes after permanently marked his legacy. The years after his death, 3 men claimed to be him, but returned from hiding. As late as the 5th century, some Eastern Romans believed he would return either from the dead or from hiding. Rome fell into a series of short-lived emperors, alternating between hatred and worship of Nero. Christianity views him almost as the human personification of evil. Some biblical scholars contend that the mark of the beast, 666 in the Book of Revelations, refers directly to him. The reign of Nero serves as a stark reminder of the destructive potential of unchecked power, vanity, and cruelty. His rule, marked by ruthlessness and indifference, is a testament to the depths of depravity to which humanity can sink. Yet, the fire he took advantage of highlighted the bravery and strength of the people of Rome and their devotion to their city. Whereas great calamities may see civilizations fall, Rome still stands to this day.